We're live.
Woo. Hello. Hopefully we're waving at people now and not just
and not just ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Woo! Love it. Love the vibe. Hello and welcome to our very first NaNoWriMo kickoff party. Woo! If you're wondering what the heck that is, we are too. Because it's our first time ever throwing one. And we're super excited to do it. We're going to be here for 2 hours. It's going to be really fun. We're going to get a lot of writing done. But before I kick off into my hosting spiel, I thought we could introduce ourselves real fast so you know the virtual people that you're talking to. So my name is Mariah. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the directors of programs at NaNoWriMo. And I have not started writing yet. Tim.
My name's Tim. I'm another program director over at NaNoWriMo. I use he, him pronouns. I also have not started writing yet.
I'm Catherine. I'm the communications manager at NaNoWriMo. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them. I also have not started writing yet. Hey.
3, 4, 3.
Shelby.
Hello, I'm Shelby. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the operations director at NaNoWriMo. That's Daphne. She's my puppy. I also haven't started writing yet. I don't know if I'm gonna. I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided about writing this fall. We'll see. I honestly think like this is probably the hour where I'm gonna start writing my novel. So we'll figure it out. But yeah, super excited to be here.
Very
okay.
That you're probably busy today, so thanks for that.
I am going to disappear now.
Okay, bye. So
bye. I'll be here but away.
She'll be our person behind the scenes. Okay.
Yep.
Bye, Shelby. Okay, so back to my spiel. It's our first time doing this, and here's how it's going to work. If you've ever been to a virtual write-in, it's going to be a little bit like that, but special. So we'll be doing some word sprints together. We'll be providing writing prompts that could help you write. I mean, honestly, we should probably do them too. So we'll be writing also. Sorry, my brain is a little frazzled today. It's like I woke up and it was like, it's November 1st. And my brain was like, no, it's not. So we're on different time zones right now, me and myself. Okay. We're going to also be playing some novel writing games and discussing NaNoWriMo tips. We'll have different NaNoWriMo staff members popping in and out, kind of like a party. And we have a very special guest, Hafsah Faizal, who's coming in the second hour. So 1 hour from now, 55 minutes, she'll be dropping in and giving us all of her noveling wisdom and also some writing prompts to write with too. Because the goal of today, in this 2 hour long NaNoWriMo 2020 kickoff party, woo! Oh my God, there it is. Is to get a lot of words written. Day one NaNoWriMo, let's write as much as we can and let's never look back. Okay. Oh, I see people dropping stuff in the chat. You could drop where you're joining from. That's always cool to hear. And I thought if you had to choose one word to sum up your novel, what would it be? One word. So not a sentence, just like boom, one word. What's your novel? I guess mine would be sideshow, maybe. Anyway, okay. Think about it. Oh, my next spiel. So today is part of a really special weekend we've been doing. Today is the last day of our Double Up donation weekend. So maybe you know a lot about us. Maybe this is your first time doing NaNoWriMo. We're an almost entirely participant-funded nonprofit organization, and we run programs all year that are totally free. So that's amazing. One, that we can, we're funded by people like you who are writing novels. So we're trying to raise, by the end of today, $200,000. And my notes say, we're already at blank, woohoo!
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me demonstrating a noveling tip where if you can't think of the word as you're writing, you just write fill this in later, or blank, and then move on. But maybe I'll ask Shelby in the background if she can G-chat me or maybe in the chat what we're at right now. Oh, I'm quiet. I'll be loud. Sorry. Shelby, behind the scenes, if you drop in how much money we've made so far, that would be beautiful. And I'll say it out loud, very loud. Okay, why is it called Double Up Donation Day? If you donate $25, you get the $50 gifts. If you donate $50, you get the $100 gifts. Also, any donation above $25, you get this really special enamel pin, which is really cool that you can only get by donating during this drive. There's also really fun hourly prizes. If you donate $10 or more anytime within the hour, you can win that hour's prize. And we'll announce them on Twitter and on our donation weekend page, which is linked below. And this hour and next hour, you could donate to win a two four-pack sets of Harry Potter chapter image coasters for all of the tea that you'll be, no doubt, oh, there it is, no doubt drinking during your writing. Also, all $10 donations today qualify you to win a grand prize. Airbnb is offering a $1,500 credit, which you can use for your own personal socially distanced writing retreat near you, which is really cool. And Shelby just dropped in the chat that we've actually raised I'm gonna say this right, $198,707 so far, which is amazing, because I know we started off the weekend on Friday trying to raise 150,000. We already raised that, and now we're trying to raise 200, and we might get to that in the next, like, during this party. We'll see how high we can go. That would be amazing if we raise more than that.
Should we do something special if we get to that during this party?
Yeah. We should think about it.
Think about it.
Yeah.
People can drop suggestions in the chat.
I feel like if anybody knows a TikTok dance, they should.
I did learn one, and then I made it ballet.
Wait, Catherine.
I remember it though. This was a while ago.
Okay, new plan for today. All you do, we relearn that dance, like TikTok, but make it ballet. I see some like people dropping stuff in the chat. Some people are saying that this is their first nano, dropping in some words, transduction, discovery. Ooh. Someone says woot, but I don't think that was summing up their novel.
That would be good though.
Yeah.
Somebody asked how to donate. Sorry.
Ooh.
So I just wanted to say, I think the link is in the description of the video to donate. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yay.
Someone else said selkies.
Ooh.
And secrets. I love all these. Protect Arctic. Oh, Katie Kelly's joining us from Woken, California. That's where I am. Very, very cool. So there are a lot of you in the chat, and I would love to keep up with it, but I also know we're here to write. So if you say something great in the chat and we miss it, I'm sorry. I definitely recommend following the chat though, because it's just a great way to participate and maybe make new friends. Woo! Did Mariah dye her hair? She did. Thanks, Justine, for noticing. It's very new. Every time I see myself, I'm like, who's that? Anyway.
I think we should also say who we are, like, costume wise, because I mean, I do sometimes just dress like this. But...
What are you dressed as, Catherine?
Sailor Moon.
Yes.
Watching a lot of
Evil by moonlight.
Wait. Hold on, I learned this.
That's so good. I also went with like a classic Japanese anime character. I'm Charizard.
Yeah.
Woohoo! There's a tail, but it's hard to see.
So just get a little lighter. Quicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, Mariah, what are you?
I'm just Sparkle. I'm the Sparkle suit.
Yes, I love it.
Around, I might disappear in the background, like into my strange screen. Okay.
I also just want to say, Monica Bauer says the vibe here is lovely if you're 22. I'm way past 22. Today's actually my 30th birthday.
Happy birthday!
So hey.
Oh, the big 3-0.
Never too old to dress up like an anime character.
So exciting.
Same. I sometimes think Zoom just like can de-age you a little bit too, because like you don't get to see us up close. Up close, we're staggered by time. I know I'm getting people saying that I'm really quiet. I think that's my computer doing something silly with Zoom. So while we write, I might pop out and grab a backup real fast. Another NaNoWriMo tip, just have as many backups as you need. Okay. Am I quiet right now? You guys can't tell.
You're pretty good right now, I think.
I'll just
Put
put
your
my
face
face
really close to the
very
camera.
close to the thing. Okay. So like I said, we're going to do some sprints, some prompts. Your job as the writers, and our job as also the writers, are to write as much as we can in that time. If the prompt helps you, use it. If the prompt doesn't help you, feel free just to write whatever you fancy. Okay. First prompt. This one's going to be a warm-up. So just to ease into writing, ease into your novel. 5 minutes. Your prompt is to try to use the word jamboree or some other kind of party, hootenanny, soiree, your choice, in your next scene. So if you can fit in hootenanny, soiree, jamboree, some kind of synonym for party in honor of our kickoff party. And we'll set the timer for 5 minutes, and I might run away during those 5 minutes and get my backup iPad to join, but you'll know this is why I never get my novel started. Okay. Ready, set. Okay, right. You have 2 minutes left. That was 5 minutes. Finish up whatever you were writing. And if you would like to drop in the chat how many words you wrote, do it. I'd love to hear it. Volume check. How's my volume? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're in the chat too, you can feel free to drop in. I did some, okay, better. I did some fiddling with some audio settings, and I also have a backup iPad, but then I think I have to turn off my virtual background to switch to it. And I'd like to live in this library rather than the weird basement that I'm in right now. Okay. Woo, people are dropping in a bunch of numbers in the chat. You guys were writing, how did it go? Catherine and Tim.
I fell into the classic trap. My internet editor needs to behave a little better. I fell into the classic trap of deleting as I went. I ended up with 65 words, which is better than the 0 I had before.
You started.
Now you can say you started your novel.
Yeah.
You started writing. Cool. I thought we could also, since this is a party, I thought we could play a couple games before we move into our next prompt and discussion. Someone said I was giving Draco Malfoy vibes, and when I first got my hair dyed, which was just a couple days ago, it was like really wet and slicked back, and that was what I kept texting my husband. I was like, I look just like Draco Malfoy, and I was so scared that that's what it was going to look like forever. Okay. So do you know the game Never Have I Ever?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can play in the chat as well. So Never Have I Ever works. Like I'll say, never have I ever owned a dog. And if you have owned a dog, then you would give a thumbs up because you have done that. And if you've never owned a dog, then you would do a thumbs down because you've never owned a dog. But we're going to do some with our novel. Are you ready? Never have I ever started writing at the stroke of midnight on October 31st.
Nope.
I'm too much of a sleepy boy for that.
Opposite, I'm a total night owl, and it's also Halloween and my birthday, so usually at midnight I'm just like, woo, birthday. But anyway.
In the chat, feel free to, you can drop it if you have started or if you haven't started. Okay, next. Never have I ever finished writing a full draft of a novel. Woohoo!
Nice.
That's great. It doesn't mean anyone has ever read it or that I'm ever going to show that draft to anyone, but it did finish. Good job.
Yeah, it took me like 10 years, but I did it.
Good work. Never have I ever written a novel and then never looked at it again. I kind of did do it actually. Well,
I don't think I've read the whole thing back like in one go.
okay.
I guess. I don't know.
That's like, what is it? The classic story is like you put it in your drawer and just never look at it again. Okay, never have I ever deleted a draft and started from scratch.
Oh.
You have? I am not actually. Tim, you have?
Like multiple times.
Oh my gosh.
It's that little editor of yours.
I know. I've got a strong-willed one.
Okay, never have I ever forgotten about a character in my own novel. Like when you're like, oh, whatever happened to that guy? I did.
Have actually.
Oh yeah, good work.
I think usually I know where the characters are going. Maybe like a very minor character.
Sometimes, like during NaNoWriMo especially, you go on a weird detour and then you never go back. And then when you look at it later, you're like, who is this? Who wrote this part? I don't know this guy.
I think I did change a character's name in the middle once. And then I went back to the beginning and I was like, who is this?
Okay, never have I ever won NaNoWriMo. Yay!
One time.
Me too. It can be done. But only one, huh?
Yeah.
Never have I ever won NaNoWriMo more than once. Oh!
This is the year. Now that we've started our novels together.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for playing. Thanks for playing in the chat as well. Okay. And I thought real fast before we could move into our next writing prompts. Some of these were about starting at midnight. Some of them were, how do you finish your novel? And so I thought, since it's the first day of November, do you guys have any tips for helping people start really strong? Like the first couple days. And in the chat, feel free, if you have a great tip about how to start really strong, drop that in.
I think for me, the one year that I won was because I actually met the word count, especially in the first couple of days. Like for me, if I fall behind, or if I don't write on the first day, then the second day it's like, oh, I've got to write double. So for me, it's just actually getting close to the daily goal in the first few days. And then if you drop off later, it's a little easier to make up because you can do that amount of work. But
I would say a very similar thing, which is that it is really annoying how much consistency matters. I think for me, one thing is I can psych myself out really easy. When, if you're just having a bad day or something, you're like, oh, I really don't want to write today. And then the next day it snowballs and you're like, I didn't write yesterday, so why bother writing today? So I think honestly, kind of doing whatever you can to get out of your own way. I think for me this month, really what I'm focusing on is just writing every single day. Just because even that small commitment of I'm going to write every single day, it keeps you moving forward in a way that doesn't let you lose the momentum, And so I'm sure there'll be some days when I'm I'm going to write 2 sentences today and this is all I can get out, but knowing I'm going to come back to it the next day, and there's always time if you hang in there,
Also, often I'll do that. If I set a really small goal, sometimes honestly, I'll say, open the doc. And if you open the doc and look at it, you did it, you're done, that's your day. And then normally once I do it, it's a lot easier to do the next thing and the next thing. So if the goal is just write 2 sentences, sometimes after those 2, you're like, oh, I could probably do a little more.
Yeah.
Kind of goes.
You're tricking yourself.
Yeah. Someone in the chat said get a writing buddy. And I was going to say, even if you don't have a friend who's writing or something like that, mine actually, my buddy didn't even know he was my buddy. He was my friend on Facebook who announced that he was doing NaNoWriMo the same year I was, and was very public about his updates. And I was like, it was the last day, and he was like, I won. And I had 5,000 words left, and I was planning not on winning because I was like, I can't do that much in a day. And then when I saw he won, I was like, oh, heck no. And then I just wrote more than I'd ever written because I didn't want him to beat me. So even if you just have a buddy, that you're racing with or supporting, or in my case, you didn't know.
I was going to say, that sounds like a nemesis.
Yeah. I really like the idea of having a secret rival.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody in the chat said, how do you quiet your inner editor? I'm definitely one of those never move past first chapter people. You can drop, if you have advice in the chat, please drop it in. For me, it's just knowing that inner editor exists and that every writer has it helps me, because every time it pops up and says this is bad, I think, no, I know you. This, once you can recognize it, you can kind of ignore it. So I never stop hearing it. I honestly never stop hearing the voice in my head that says this is really bad. So it's not I'm quieting it. It's just that you get better at learning how to be I don't trust you. you know, like you're not trustworthy right now.
Or like, I don't care if it's bad, I'm gonna write it anyway.
Yeah.
That's where I go usually.
Or setting goals that have nothing to do with it being good or bad, right? I'm like, I'm just gonna finish it, and then if I still don't like it, I'll never look at it again. You know, like I gave myself permission to truly hate it, and just finish it. So cool.
Oh my gosh. Carl O'Connor said in 2011, I wrote over 13,000 words in the last 2 days to get to the 50K finish.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
Okay. So next, speaking of writing, let's move on to our next writing prompt. So this one is about an object. Maybe we can write for 8 or 10 minutes. This one is the prompt that we can write. If it helps you, if not, ignore it, is this. Your character discovers an object that will become more important later in your novel. Don't worry if you're not quite sure how it will be important. Focus on the moment of discovery and describing the object. So like, maybe they find a plant somewhere. I'm just looking at a plant. That was really boring. Honestly though, like that's fine, right? Like look at something around your room and describe it and have your character discover it, and don't worry about how it's going to pop up again later. Just know that they might. And if you write something here and it doesn't end up fitting in your novel, you can still count it for your word count because it's part of the process. So if you write something and then you're like, this doesn't fit my story, don't delete it. Just cut it and paste it somewhere else in your novel. I have a section at the very bottom that's just called like, I don't know, like novel notes or something. And I count it towards my word count, but sometimes you dip back in and pull pieces out later. It's useful. Okay. And then we can drop that prompt in the chat as well. All right. Should we do 10 minutes? We're a little behind schedule. We could do 8.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do 8 minutes. Build up to 10. 8 minutes. Ready, set, right. we're about halfway through, and if you're stuck, this is the perfect place to try to get all your senses in there. So what does this object look like, but what does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? Does it sound like anything? Oop. Go ahead and stop writing. And that was 8 minutes. How'd it go? Drop in the chat. Did you write? How many words? Did you, maybe you want to drop the object that your character ended up discovering. Mine is a vial of perfume, like old perfume that I was trying to describe. Which is cool because not a lot of things, you know, have really strong scents. And I thought, oh, that'll be an interesting thing because I can really describe the scent of it.
That's cool.
How'd I go for you all?
I didn't use the prompt because I actually was really into the scene that I had been writing from the last prompt. So I just kind of continued that one. And I also can't tell you how many words I wrote because I wrote by hand, but it was good.
I can't tell you how many words I wrote because I'm embarrassed.
There's no such thing as a bad word count.
Okay, good. Woo! Okay. Sometimes it's hard to go back from writing to like talking to everybody again. But I see people dropping in the chat. They discovered a circuit board. That's really cool. A calligraphy pen, a photograph of their childhood. Let me see. Shoshana Koch found a mini Ganesh statue.
Ooh.
Tyler reads E. Cummings. Just met my word count goal for the day. Woo!
Nice.
Waiting. This is my dance now. I don't know how to dance anymore. Someone in the library is going to be like,
This is kind of how we're gonna party when we go back to hanging out together.
Paige Hildebrand's character found an old pendant. Amanda Townsend's found a badly burned journal. Black Girl on Mountain wrote 253 words and they found a cell phone. These are
Nice.
really cool and very different. An old wallet, a uniquely colored beetle. A Ventria wrote 153 words and they discovered a cactus.
Ooh.
Honestly, I don't think I've seen any repeats, which is really cool.
That is
Ooh.
really cool.
Annie Massaro their character found a baby monitor that will be used later in the story to eavesdrop on conversations.
Nice.
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
Brittany Roberts says 661 words for me. Do you all just write whatever comes in your head? I'm amazed at how fast you guys write. I wrote about 61 words too. I just can't write that fast in a sprint. I'm more of like a plotter, not plotter, but like plodder, like I plod forward. And that's okay. I just means I take more time to write than someone who can write much faster. Cool. So it is 12:41. Tim, I think we're waving goodbye to you, right?
Yeah, I'm ducking out, and then I think someone cooler is gonna come to replace me.
Nobody's cooler than you, Tim.
But I'm really excited. I got 219 words total, so I just updated my word count on the website, and I'm feeling very good.
Woo!
It's so nice to see y'all. Happy November 1st.
Same.
Bye. Happy
Bye.
birthday, Catherine.
Oh, we got 2 people coming.
Ooh,
How exciting.
very exciting.
Hello.
Hello,
Wait.
you guys. How you doing?
Good.
You look good.
Thank you. This is our party.
I know. I love it.
We're at the NaNoWriMo pickup party.
I'm trying to get my costume ready.
Sandra,
Oh my
let me
gosh,
see.
yes.
There we go.
Sandra.
Couch potato. Oh my god.
I can't see it. What is it?
Okay, so the long story is
Yeah.
it's actually a joint costume. I'm in Taekwondo at my school. Hi, I'm an intern. I'm Sandra, by the way. And my partner was Ross from Friends. And so I was the couch, and in Taekwondo we do a lot of pivoting. So he would like grab the armchair, the couch chair, and he would yell pivot, and I'd like move with him. But without him, I'm just a couch. So Catherine and Tim, I think, recommended that I bring a couch and I bring a potato and be a couch potato.
Yeah.
But I really have to like block my entire face for it to have full effect, which I guess might be like a blessing. Anyway, I think I interrupted you, Grant. Apologies.
No. Your outfit deserves full attention, as do Mariah's and Catherine. I only wore these NaNoWriMo buttons. I don't even know if they show up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I'm in the NaNoWriMo offices, which has many dramatic accoutrements. Like here's Blobby. Blobby's joining us.
We missed Blobby.
I know. This is your novel, which you're all writing now.
Hey, give that back.
I loved all the the found objects. Before I got on, I was reading through the chat, and I was like, I want to write a novel about each of these objects. I want to go further with it. I want to do a collection of these.
I know, they're very inspiring.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself and your pronouns?
Oh, that's right. And I didn't get to put my pronouns up here either. I'm Grant Faulkner, he, him. Yeah, I brought two helping hands for me to write as well that I found in the NaNoWriMo offices. And I want to give one, we have all these, right now we cleaned out our storage space. So we have lots of fun things to kind of just find. It's like wandering through the attic, but here's an old Script Frenzy shirt that has a plot machine on it.
Wow.
Isn't that pretty cool?
It's like a time machine. Bring it
Yeah. And it says, facing a monstrous deadline, a group of heroic scriptwriters bash out 100 pages in 30 days. That used to be our old event, Script Frenzy. Yeah.
That office really is a treasure trove of strange things.
Yeah.
One
Well,
day
can I show one more thing?
Sure.
This is almost as large as the couch. This is an official traveling shovel of death.
Oh my God.
Be careful with that.
Does anyone know what the traveling shovel of death is? Can anyone explain it? Sandra, no?
Sandra's like, I'm
No,
glad I'm
I'm
alive.
I'm just scared. This is
Stay
the
away from it,
spooky
yeah.
thing that's happened to me in November.
So I'm sure someone in the watching knows, but there's a little bit of a delay, so it might take a second for them to drop.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
So-
curious what people know.
As far as I know, it is a shovel that you use to kill characters that you don't want anymore. Is that right?
Yeah, I think its origin, I can't remember exactly. It started in the forums, and I think it was like when people don't have, like they've kind of hit a wall in their novel, and you know, like sometimes you hit a wall and your characters are all just kind of walking around and it's very undramatic. And so I think the traveling shovel of death was introduced as this powerful object that could basically kill anyone or anything. And so it would just come into your novel and just bring a lot of conflict with it. And I have read people, you know, they've had whole heroic battles where the traveling shovel of death has killed, you know, who knows, hundreds, thousands, millions of creatures. So it's to be reckoned with.
Catherine Connor says in the chat, it travels story to story, leaving death and chaos in its wake. And I think that's a perfect tagline for it.
That is, yeah.
Darkest Adetunji says, authors are terrible.
It's true.
All right.
I'm going to read some of the chat.
So thank you for coming to
Yeah.
our party.
Thanks for having
We're
me.
very glad to have you here. We've already done 2 word sprints. We played a couple games. We have about 15 minutes left before our special guest, Hafsah Faizal, will appear, hopefully, to impart us with her wisdom and some writing prompts also. And so before she gets here, we would like to do another word sprint, and then we can do another Never Have I Ever game. But maybe, should we switch that? What do you feel like more, a prompt right now or a quick game?
Who are you asking? The crowd?
Anybody.
Anybody?
Yeah. What do you feel? Catherine, you're our longest guest. What do you feel?
I feel like we could do a quick game, maybe.
Okay, so here we're gonna play one more
Quick writing.
game,
All
and
right.
then we'll focus on our writing. And I'll watch the clock, so we'll have 10 minutes straight. So we're gonna have to keep this a little quick. So the way Never Have I Ever works is if you have done the thing that I say, you put your thumbs up. If you have not done it, you put your thumbs down. So if you're in the chat, you can also participate. So for instance, never have I ever made myself cry when I was writing. I have done that.
I have. Okay, I was the nevers got me mixed up there.
Yeah. So you have done it.
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah.
I recommend it. The traveling shovel of death is like a good way to make yourself cry. Okay. Never have I ever made myself laugh at something I wrote. Could be because it was really bad too.
Oh, absolutely. My story is, it was from NaNoWriMo in 2018, and I started writing something, fell asleep while writing it, woke up the next morning to reread what I had written, and it was so incoherent, and I still have it saved somewhere because it brings me so much joy.
Beautiful. Never have I ever gotten a crush or crushed on my own character that I wrote.
The crest?
A crush. Like
Oh,
you-
crush. Oh my gosh. Maybe.
Never, we don't have to elaborate on that. I would prefer not to. Never have I ever gotten stuck for more than a month on a single story. So have you gotten stuck for
Have
more than
gotten stuck or have not?
have gotten stuck?
I have gotten stuck for more than a month.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay.
You wouldn't be a writer if you hadn't.
That sounds good. I like that. Never have I ever updated my word count progress on NaNoWriMo with fewer than 50 words. Like you logged on for the day just to say you wrote like 5 words. Do you
Sometimes
remember?
I'll write a paragraph and then we'll be like, I have to update this.
That's what I was going to say. The question is, how many times do you update within an hour or within 10 minutes?
I've done the thing where I don't want to lose my streak, so I've written literally like a sentence, 10 words for the day, and then added those 10 sentences just so I don't lose the streak. Okay, opposite question. Never have I ever written 5,000 or more words in a single day.
Oh man, I'm the odd one out here. I'm a slow writer.
Honestly, it was one time though. What's the most you've ever written, Sandra or Grant? You put your thumbs up for that. Do you remember?
It's right around 5,000.
Mm.
I am not one of those writers who can write much more than that. Yeah. Sandra, how about you?
Oh, for me it was 13,000, but they were very bad. They were like, I was in like 7th grade. I had nothing to do other than to write. Like I had no responsibilities. It was a great and beautiful and glorious time.
Sandra, that's amazing. 13,000 words in a day as a 7th grader?
But they weren't good. They weren't good at all.
No, it's still amazing. I think I wrote 13,000 words with the entirety of my 7th grade.
I feel like reading back on it, I feel like a good 100 words is better than a trashy 13,000. But I appreciate it. I'm very.
Don't tell any of our participants that, please.
Oh, I am catering to the wrong audience. But that was me, like as a 7th grader. Yeah.
Sabrina in the chat. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Sabrina in the chat says that they're currently beating their own record. They're now at 13K.
Wow.
Amazing. I'm seeing a lot of numbers in here that are making me feel like, oh, but everybody.
I'm so impressed.
I know, we got 15K,
all right.
67.
Should we try to catch up to them with another prompt? I'm like, oh, I need to write more words now.
So our special author guest is arriving, so she might pop in during the word sprint, and then I'll tell her we're about to do this sprint. And then because she's a little early. How exciting. Okay, so here's the prompt, and we're gonna let's write another maybe 8 minutes, which is what we did last time. And the prompt is trick or treat, because yesterday was Halloween. Surprise your character in the next scene with either a trick or an unexpected treat. And if you want a bonus challenge, you can turn your font white or close your eyes and type either for the whole time or just for the last minute if you want like an extra fun, can't even see what you're writing challenge to try to get rid of your editor. So Shelby will drop that into the chat and I'll set my timer for 8 minutes. Trick or treat. Ready, set, go. Welcome. We are writing. We're in the middle of a word sprint, but we're excited to talk to you. We've got 7 minutes left. Oops. stopped halfway. Sandra, I thought you were meditating, but then I realized I think you're typing with your eyes closed.
I was doing it, and then I was like, oh, I must look ridiculous on camera.
No, you looked awesome. Okay, 4 minutes. If you want to try to turn your font white or write with your eyes closed, see how it goes. All right, that's time. So go ahead and finish up what you were writing. And if you would like, you can drop your word count in the chat. If you want to drop in, if you did a trick or a treat, feel free to drop that in as well. I brought some treats for myself. So wait, oh, it's so creepy. We have a special guest, and I'm super excited to introduce them. Before I do that, I'm going to give a really quick update, and then we'll move into our special guest segment. So I saw some people, new people joining us in the chat, so I wanted to just reintroduce what we're doing. This is our NaNoWriMo 2020 kickoff party. We've got some NaNoWriMo staff who are coming in and out. We've been doing some word sprints and really working on our word count totals this whole last hour. And we're going to do more this next hour, plus get some writerly wisdom from our special guest, Hafsah Faizal. And we're also running a very special donation weekend this weekend, and I have a cool update. So if you don't know about the donation weekend, it is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today's the last day, and since we're a nonprofit org and we're almost entirely participant funded from people like you, we were trying to raise $150,000 over the weekend. Surprise! We already raised that, so we raised our goal to 200,000. And at the beginning of the last hour, we were at 198,000. We were so close. And I said we would give you an update, and I just got one. Shelby says that we are now at $207,555, which is amazing. Thank you so much. If you were able to donate, we really appreciate you. If you're not able to donate, thank you for coming and bringing your energy to this virtual party. And also we have a word count goal. So we're trying to write, I think, 140 million words in one day, kind of making this the wordiest day in the history of writing, maybe. So make sure you update your word count on the NaNoWriMo site so we can get that goal as well.
The way we figured that word count, Mariah, is we tallied up the words in all of the books behind you. So that 140 million will equal all of those books.
This is just my house, no big deal.
I think I'm gonna head out, Mariah.
Okay. Bye, Catherine.
See you, Catherine.
Happy birthday.
Bye-bye.
Happy birthday.
Oh, it's Catherine's birthday. Gosh. Yeah.
Bye.
Write a few thousand words.
Break that now.
Okay.
Cool.
So, bye, Catherine. And hello, Hafsah.
Hey, Hafsah.
I'm gonna read your lovely bio and then give you a chance to introduce yourself as well. So, oh my gosh, this is me vamping, trying to be like, you're not supposed to say you're vamping when you're vamping, I think, but I have all these pages pulled up. I'm like, where's the one that says your bio?
Well, while you're pulling it up, I can just quickly address something I read in the chat. A lot of people were confused on why it looked like I was sleeping, and I would just like to say that I promise I wasn't sleeping during the word sprint. I was just writing with my eyes closed, as per Mariah's lovely suggestion, and I can't read half of the words that I wrote, so I'm not sure if it was the best thing to do, but I did get I did get a chunk done, so questionably successful.
You're off the hook, Sandra. You're off the hook now.
Okay, I found the bio. So Hafsah Faizal is the Muslim author of the alt-Arabian instant New York Times best-selling YA fantasy We Hunt the Flame and its upcoming sequel, We Free the Stars. Born in the US and raised with traditions rooted in Arabian culture and a huge fan of science fiction fantasy novels, Hafsah is passionate about seeing Middle Eastern culture positively depicted in today's books. So welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. That's a pretty impressive bio.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll just jump in. Yeah, so my debut is We Hunt the Flame, and it takes place in a world inspired by ancient Arabia, where a girl named Zafira ventures to this island, a villainous island, where she has to retrieve a lost artifact that can save her dying world. And at the same time, we have the second protagonist, who is the Prince of Death, who is the Prince of the Kingdom and an assassin sent on a similar mission to find her, steal the artifact from her, and kill her off. Of course, that's not what happens when their paths cross on the island, and they discover an ancient evil brewing that they might have to join forces to defeat. So that's the first book. And the second book, We Free the Stars, releases January 19th. And it's the immediate sequel, and it's a duology, so this is also the finale.
Cool.
Excited for people to read it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying hello to you in the chats, and I can also tell them that if you have questions, we're going to have some time at the end where hopefully Hafsah can answer some of those questions. So if you have questions about her novel, if you have questions about writing, we have a lot of people joining us today who are trying to write a novel in a month, and this is their very first day, so I'm sure they'll have a lot of questions for you. I thought before we move into our next word sprint, though, maybe we can play another. We've been playing Never Have I Ever, but with novels.
Okay.
You know the Never Have I Ever game?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll explain it again for people in the chat if you're just joining. the way never have I ever works is I'll say a statement like, never have I ever had a dog. And if you have had a dog, then you give a thumbs up because you have had a dog. And if you've never had a dog, you do a thumbs down because you've never had a dog. But these are going to be about noveling questions. Are you ready? And we might have more guests popping in, actually. I'm not sure. Shelby in the background. Let's see, is anyone else scheduled? No, just us. Perfect. Okay. First, never have I ever. Never have I ever written someone I know into a novel. Oh, anyone care to elaborate?
I'll just say, yeah, not often actually, but it's, you know, I think it's hard not to put people you know into your novels. I think for me at least, people I know inspire the characters just like my own experiences do in some way. Yeah, they're pretty veiled though.
I know that we used to have a button or a shirt or something that said like, "Be nice to me, or I'll put you in my novel."
Yeah, yeah. There's probably a whole genre of revenge novels out there. I don't think that's the best creative impulse, but
okay. Never have I ever woken up in the middle of the night to write. Oh, wow. Great, you have.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna answer all these. I basically wake up in the middle of the night every night. I get up at like 4:30 in the morning to write. So I love that quiet of the night. I love to be alone. And yeah, it's just a great dreamy time to write.
Cool. Never have I ever jumped out of the shower to write down an idea.
I will conceive an idea in the shower and then think that I'll remember it when I come out, and then I forget. Yeah.
Why do we forget those great ideas?
I don't know.
Someone suggested like having a journal in the shower, but I was like, if I do that, then I'll just never have any ideas anymore. So I'd rather go this route.
Also, I have seen a little kind of whiteboard thing that they sell for that, like novel ideas in the shower. So
yeah, I've seen that. So I was like, if I buy that, I'll never have any ideas anymore. So
yeah,
I'm just gonna get one.
Better to get the ideas. I like to think they come back someday. Like when you forget them, they'll come back in a strange way.
I do like the idea though that like if your muse only wants to come when like it knows it can come a little bit in secret.
So if you're prepared, she just doesn't make an appearance anymore.
Yeah.
Your muse only comes at your most vulnerable moments, sleeping or in the shower.
Well, I think they've done studies on this, and I mean the shower is like a metaphor for the place where you get great ideas, but it is usually that those light bulb moments happen, like not when you're in front of the laptop, but when you're doing something that's not writing. So
yeah. Never have I ever written a second draft without looking at my first at all.
Yeah.
You've done it?
Has anyone written a pure second draft? I've always admired people who do that. I think it's so interesting, but I've never done it.
I feel like it's less of a second draft than it's almost like a new draft, right? So you're looking at it, not looking at it.
Yeah.
I heard an author say that they wrote their first draft and put it away and didn't look at it, wrote their second draft, put that away, didn't look at it. And I was like, oh my God, the weight of all those drafts, I felt them all. But also this novel I'm writing now, I'm doing that more, where I don't look at my first draft anymore unless I have a very specific memory of something being good. If I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one scene, and then I'll go back and look for it, but I'm not looking at it at all as I write. And it's a pretty interesting experience. It's kind of like I know all the people already, but I know them already, but now anyway, I can't explain it. It's kind of fun.
It's like fan fiction of your own work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's a good way to view the next draft. Yeah.
I'm honestly gonna write that down right now because that is the coolest, weirdest way to think about a second draft.
Hey, since we're talking about drafts, can I interrupt the game just for a moment to ask Hafsah a question?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Hafsah.
No, you can.
I read that you spent 6 years writing your first novel, and I really admired that, because I think you must have started it around when you were 18 or 19. And
19,
I think, like,
yeah.
yeah, so committing to a novel for 6 years, I think it's hard to do at any stage in your life, but especially when you're that young, perhaps. And so I'm just curious, how many drafts did you go through in those 6 years?
Well, the thing is, I can't progress unless I feel like the previous one is perfect. So I don't just like write rough and then come back to it. I have to like keep going. So I guess it's just one gigantic draft that I kept hashing at until I got to the stage where I liked it. And the only reason I stuck to that book was because I told myself this is the last one I was going to do before I give up, because I had this goal of getting published by the time I was 20. And I was obviously not going to make it. So I just like thought, let me just try it one last time.
Wow.
But I did write it for 4 years, and then I sold it. And then there was those 2 years of getting it, ready for publication. That
I see. Well,
makes it 6.
Well, thank God you didn't quit writing.
Yeah.
All right. Never have I ever described my novel at a party.
Ooh, I wish I hadn't. I really.
Because Hafsah, I'm sure you've described your novel, finished novels many times, but have you ever described like a draft that you're in the middle of at a party?
I have, but not willingly.
I'm notoriously secretive. I don't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
I like talking about it online, vaguely. I like being vague and then people being like, yes, I want to know more.
That's a good strategy. I think before you go to the party, come up with that perfect vague tease, just in case someone asks you. Yeah, I usually am unprepared when I've been asked that question, and then I tend to ramble and bumble my way through some inept description, and I feel bad for weeks afterwards.
All right. Never have I ever held an imaginary interview with myself. Like you're like Terry Gross is interviewing you in your head.
I used to before I got published, but now I just go over interviews that I had and I was like, I should have said this instead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds bad. I hate that feeling. Okay. Never have I ever acted out scenes from my novel. Like as we were writing them.
Like acted it myself?
Like staged it.
Oh no, I have not. I just like the movie, work it in my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes sketch out little things, but never myself.
I'll make character faces.
Yeah, I was gonna say if my character is doing a thing with their face, I usually end up doing the same thing with my face.
That counts. Have you ever looked in a mirror to see like what a human face looks like? Because like you're writing and you forget and you're like, what does it look like when someone is mad, I've done that. Okay, thank you for playing. We have 45 minutes left. I would love to do another prompt all together and get that word, bump up our word count. Today is NaNoWriMo. And then at the end, hopefully we can ask some questions and get some wisdom. So if you are in the chat right now and you have questions that you would like to ask Hafsah, feel free to drop them in. Shelby, who's our lady in the background, can try to hold them for us, even though the chat moves pretty fast. So you might have to drop that question in again later. Otherwise, okay, let's do a prompt. Hafsah, did you have a prompt that you wanted to share with us? Otherwise,
I do. I'm not sure if it's like too vague or not, but okay. So do I start now? Do I say it?
Sure.
Okay, start your next scene with your character doing something they love before someone else comes in and gives them news that changes their life. So it's kind of vague, and so that you can write it any way you like. Is your character doing crafts or baking, archery, or do they just like murder? And that someone who comes in, is it the love interest or their mom or like a rival at the boarding school, wherever it is? And is that piece of news good or bad? Like, did they win a scholarship or did their best friend die? It's all up to you.
I like
love
it.
So exciting. This fits perfectly with the next scene.
Oh, cool.
Sandra, I think a requirement for you, a couch has to appear in your scene.
Oh my gosh. Can a
Yeah.
couch just appear in my Zoom? Can I become the couch once more? Oh,
You're just joining. Sandra has a couch costume.
yeah. I'll just briefly flash it to Hafsah.
Oh, that
It's very
What is that?
literally a couch. And there's a potato, a couch potato. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
I know. Okay. Sorry, I'm eating. I'm like tearing through my Halloween candy. Okay. We've done a 5 minute to 8 minutes. Maybe this will be our 10-minute prompt. If that's okay with you. I think it's a great 10-minute prompt. So I'll start my timer. Your goal is to write as fast as you can. If the prompt speaks to you, use it. If it doesn't, use something else. The only important thing to do is to write. And we'll come back together in 10 minutes. Go. We have 4.5 minutes left, so halfway. One minute, write faster than you've ever written before. And that is time. Go ahead, and if you are writing, finished up writing, and you could drop in the chat how that prompt went for you. You could also, earlier in this party, we had people share one word to show how they were, to describe their novel in just one word, what would it be? If you didn't get a chance to do that, feel free to do that. Or if you would like to tell us one word in the chat to share how you're feeling right now about this NaNoWriMo month, feel free to drop that into the chat too. And while you're doing that, we can introduce our next guest. I don't know. You, China, sorry. So
No pressure, all the pressure.
You want
I'm
to say
trying.
your name, what you do, and your pronouns, and anything else you feel like saying, but those three things for sure.
I'm China. I'm the editorial intern this fall. I use the she, her pronouns, and I am wearing the snow onesie because it's snowing here where I live in Ohio. Yay.
Welcome. And so if you're just joining us, I don't know who that is, but I'm Mariah, I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the directors of programs at NaNoWriMo, and I'm wearing my glitter. I had a party background earlier, but it got a little too intense, so I changed it to my library. Do you want to just do real quick introductions again for people who are joining? Grant.
Sure. I'm not sure how we're positioned on the screen, but
I'll just call on you like a teacher. Grant.
Grant. Grant Faulkner, I'm Executive Director of National Novel Writing Month, and I go by the pronouns he, him, and I'll hand it to Sandra.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I'm the programs intern for NaNoWriMo. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Yeah, I have a costume. It's just lying on the floor right now.
And then Hafsah.
Yeah.
She's our special guest. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Hafsah Faizal, and I'm the author of We Hunt the Flame. And I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So people have been throwing questions in the chat for Hafsah, and we're gonna get to those in a second. But I thought just before we did, I have two questions for everyone. So a lot of people in the chat are saying this is their very first NaNoWriMo. So my question for everybody, if you have an answer, is if you could go back in time to the very beginning of working on a novel, what advice would you tell yourself on that very first day? Feel free, anyone.
Like your very first day of your very first novel?
Your very first day of your very first novel, or your very first day of any novel, because I kind of feel like every new novel is like the first time.
I think for me, mine would be NaNoWriMo geared. Like, don't get caught up in perfectionism. I think is the biggest hurdle for me in NaNoWriMo is just being like, oh, but I want to go back to the scene, rework it to how I want it, and there's always that like NaNoWriMo side of my brain that's going like, no, just keep moving forward, get the scene done, return to it later, it'll be good. Yeah.
That's good.
I'm gonna riff on that one because I think I like to think of my first draft as a discovery draft. I don't even call it a rough draft or a first draft. It's really a zero draft. And the advice I would give people is don't worry about getting lost in that first draft. Sometimes getting lost can be the absolute best thing for your story. So yeah, just explore and find your story.
Mine is probably going to be similar. It's to just keep writing because it's so easy to get caught up and listen to all the negative voices in your head, and also to listen to all like everything that publishing is telling you, because there's so many markets that just come and go, and it's hard to define which one is going to work in like 2 years. So just keep writing and get it done.
People are dropping similar advice in the chat. Someone has one that they wrote, Jasmine Perez in all caps says, do not let distractions become an excuse, which I think is a really good, I'm taking that personally, Jasmine, because I think that I do that. So I'm going to try to keep my time. Like if I don't write in the morning, I'm going to find time to do it rather than keep like putting it off. Also just, people really liked that prompt, Hafsah. So someone said they wrote 700 words in those 10 minutes. Maddie Ophelia says 700 words. Whoa, very fruitful prompt. So thank you for that.
I'm so glad. Yay.
And people are sharing how they feel. Words like distressed, but also motivated. And someone says they're feeling chicken, or maybe that describes their novel. I'm not sure. Darian Lewis says, preach, Hafsah. Which is great. Hope T says, dare to be bad. And I'm wondering if that was your advice for your first day of writing a novel. And I like that too. Like if you set the goal to be good, you're never gonna get there. If you set the goal to be bad, like you can do that. You know, like that's achievable. Cool. Thank you for answering that. I have maybe let me see if Shelby's dropping more questions. Oh, okay. Okay. Now we are officially moving from party phase to question and answer phase with a little bit of party as part of it. So if you have questions for Hafsah, our special guest author, or for us too, but we're not gonna, I probably pass them on to her, drop them in the chat and Shelby will pull them and we can share them. And we can spend about 20 minutes, I think, doing that. Our first question comes from, I'm gonna scroll up. Sorry, I had to keep scrolling up. Still scrolling. Okay. Peachy Bun says, how did you get yourself through that saggy middle point that most writers run into?
So I'd say I mean, that middle has to be there, of course, but it's also easier to figure out your beginning and then your ending and then just work towards it because the middle will happen on its own. If you try to outline, that might help, but I am someone who has a difficult time outlining. And so I just start with my inciting incident where something happens that changes your main character's life. And then I have a vague idea of the ending. So I just work towards that and then just come up with scenes as I go. And then I get to the end and then I'll see that, okay, this one didn't, this is not working, or this is too slow, or this one is too fast. And then I'll shift and edit as I go. So like worrying about that middle will, I think, make it get a bit more saggy and soggy. So just don't worry about that.
Cool. I know we have a video up on our NaNoWriMo YouTube page with some tips for how to avoid that, the soggy middle also. So feel free to check that out. And feel free to also chime in if you have any questions or advice as well. That goes for people writing in the chat. It also goes for Grant and Sandra in China. If you have advice or questions as well.
I just like the soggy middle. I like the middle being soggy because I always refer to it as the muddy middle, and I think the soggy middle is better. Just like you might just sink a little bit in it.
I mean, soggy is definitely grosser.
I was thinking that too, Mariah.
I hate writing middles. I typically kind of just like I honestly I try to write the ending first, which I know is kind of really backwards, but I always get really excited about the ending. So the more excited I am about the ending, the easier it is to write that gross middle block.
I like that. Let me keep going. Oh, so Lynn is wondering, what are some of the sources that you used for your ancient Arab inspired world?
Wikipedia? No. I'm not a huge fan of research, but I do love video games. And so when I decided first to write the story in a world inspired by ancient Arabia, I started playing Assassin's Creed, the original one, which takes place in Arabia, and the later one called Assassin's Creed Origins, which takes place in Egypt, in ancient Egypt. And so those worlds were really similar. And then I began researching. And then what I wanted to do was actually craft a world with touchstones to ancient Arabia, but not like set in there. And so it was just a matter of like taking the bits that I liked and then building on from there as I wanted it to be.
Can you elaborate on touchstones? Because I feel like whenever I've tried to do, like I tried a sci-fi book once and I got so caught up in the weeds of like making every tiny little point of the world that that was my worst NaNoWriMo ever. So I'd love to hear more about touchstones.
So I guess you just have to decide what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. So for me, it was that I knew that there are so many books that take place in a version of Arabia where maybe it's a magical lamp or like a flying carpet or whatever it is. And so I knew that there are so many books that are set in Eurocentric worlds that have the setting, but then the history and the politics and everything else is made up by their author. And I wanted to do the same thing, but set it in a world inspired by ancient Arabia. And so I kept the language and I incorporated words into the story that are actually Arabic. Then I set the terrain, but I made the geography different, like to match however I wanted the world to be. So though you have like the desert and then like the clothing and the landscapes and the palace and the architecture, one of the things I love most about fantasy is the architecture. And so I would research those bits and make everything come together, like all of these ancient Arabian inspired things with my story that I've been wanting to tell, kind of.
Building on that, do you like, have you been to any of the places that you were, like, do you think you can, someone was asking about world building and if you can, you know, build a world based on things that you've never actually seen in real life?
I think you can if you utilize Pinterest or just Google Images, like search for images endlessly. Like I have so many images that I mean, half the time I don't save these images, I just look them up. And so it's like kind of absorbing all of that with each image that you look at. Like if you just look at one, I don't think you're gonna get the full depth that you need. So just keep researching and looking up whether it's actual photography or illustrated stuff, whatever it is that just gets the tone set for you, and then you can build off from there. Like it's your story, you don't have to have it accurate. You're not going to write like, I mean, you're not writing nonfiction, right? So if you're writing fiction, just go wherever you want it to go and just build off of whatever you want to build off of. And then it's also, I mean, it's world building, but it's also your first draft, second draft. You can just keep building from there. It's not going to be perfect the first time you go. You're almost just setting the foundation, and then you're just going to keep building as you go, like setting the windows, setting the trim, whatever it is. You're going to do it as you go. You don't have to do it all at once.
I was going to say, so your style of research fulfills two very important principles of creativity. Is that one, you're researching all the material you need for the world building, and two, you're perhaps procrastinating from writing your novel at the same time. Is that
true?
Yeah, at least with me, which I'll stick up for procrastination in this case. I think it's kind of like you're daydreaming about your novel and generating ideas.
Also, someone in the chat, or a couple of people, said my audio is quiet, which it's been doing on and off. So I tried to change the setting, and if I'm too quiet, just put my face uncomfortably close. I don't know what I can also.
You're coming in all right.
I know. I think it's something about how it's transferring to YouTube, and I'll just be loud. And so Chaotic Nightmare says, how did you come up with the idea for your book? Which I know some people start November 1st with a big plan, but some people might still be trying to come up with an idea that's compelling. So how did you come up with yours?
First off, I want to say that like writing is more than your word count. So if you are still trying to figure out where your story takes place or what the story is about, that's still considered writing. You don't have to beat yourself up over it if it's not like actual words you're typing down on the keyboard. So for We Hunt the Flame, the original story idea was inspired by a back-to-back viewing of of Lord of the Rings and the Hunger Games. And then my sisters and I were like, what if the games were set in a fantasy world? And so that's how the story started, where I had 21 characters coming together on this island to kill each other off and find a prize. And I wrote about 30,000 words, and it was all Eurocentric and Welsh and all of that before I realized that it wasn't working out. And so I stopped and took a break, and that I was sketching the world's map because I'm a designer and I do a lot of visual stuff, right? And so while I was sketching the world's map, I realized that it looks a lot like the world, like the Mediterranean, where I had this like little island surrounded by the mainland. And so I thought, why don't I set it in a place that's, you know, more familiar to me? And that's how We Hunt the Flame really came into being then.
That's really cool. I love hearing, because I think for some, so I used to teach, and I know some kids, their ideas come from, like it starts as like they're writing fanfic, very clear fanfic about a movie that they saw. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to become something totally different and 100% your own. So I love hearing when things that inspire you are things like, these two movies, and then I went from there. It's such a cool beginning to see how much different it can get.
And I think being open to inspiration from wherever you can get it is also a way you'll get inspired by things. Like being like just going for a walk will also inspire something. I know it happens to so many of us.
Someone, I have to scroll back now, but sorry, still scrolling. Athena said, what's your ideal writing break activity? And I've heard you mention drawing, and then I've heard you mention walks. Are there any other like writing break activities that you take that you feel like keep you inspired or just like refresh you?
Well, I didn't say I go for a walk. I don't.
Oh.
I said it's a good way to find inspiration. But yeah, so I shuffle between working my business, which is IC Designs, and then writing. And so if I'm taking a break, it's usually to do that. Otherwise, I will play Assassin's Creed because it's got such a large world, and it's almost like I'm getting little bits and pieces that I can pick up from there for writing later. And I usually play whichever. I know they have a lot of games that are set in different time periods, different historical periods, and so I will play whichever one is more pertinent to the writing that I'm doing right now. So like I started drafting a new story. It's codenamed Guns and Tea right now because I'm still drafting it and still getting through things, and I haven't sold it yet, but I started playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate just so I can get back into like how the world feels, kind of.
Sandra, I know that you mentioned too that you find a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild.
I do.
Yeah. I think that's great, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I feel very exposed right now. I definitely do like get linked to trek up mountains and think, yes, it's like I can feel the icy breeze on my face, and take inspiration from the landscapes. Obviously, I've never played Assassin's Creed, but I've watched a lot of videos enough to know that it captures that same really majestic feeling when you're climbing cathedrals and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I love when somebody has a quote that's something, when you're a writer, you're kind of always writing. So all of the things that you do, playing a video game, taking a shower, you can find, you're always writing secretly in your head still maybe, or finding inspiration. Okay, this is a very specific question, but from Ahmad Abdullah, who says, Salam Hafsah, how can I write punchier dialogues and how to transition from dialogue back to text? It feels abrupt. I don't know if you have an answer to that, but.
Walaikum salam. But I think learning how to write good dialogue comes from reading a lot of dialogue. So like your favorite books, you'll want to see which ones have the best dialogue. Like maybe some of them are just banter, some of them are more emotional dialogue, and then you just the more you read, the more you'll figure out how to write it on your own. And of course, it also helps where sometimes you can just write down pieces of dialogue, even if it's choppy, even if it doesn't seem like, even if it doesn't flow well for you, and then you'll come back later and edit it and make it all flow. So getting it down in whatever form to start with is always more helpful than trying to figure out the perfect line from whichever character is saying whichever word.
So I was going to say one of the early, I think, mistakes I made when I was writing dialogue in my early days as a writer was that I wanted my dialogue to replicate real life dialogue. And the best dialogue actually doesn't do that so much. I mean, it reads as if it's coming from real life, but it serves a dramatic purpose. And so to always think of the dramatic purpose of the dialogue and how to make it dramatic, which is different than just like a transcript of real life.
Yeah. That's a good piece of advice.
Abigail W says, do you have any advice for teen writers?
I guess don't set goals like I did, where it was like I started writing at 17 and I thought I will get published by the time I'm 20, or that's it, I'm dropping the whole thing completely. It is good to set a goal though, just so that you can work towards it, but don't do something that's like as drastic as mine. Be open to finding inspiration. Read a lot. You don't have to get a degree in writing to be able to write, or to get published, or to even hit the New York Times bestselling list. Just write as you want to. Don't put too much pressure into it. And sometimes outside forces will tell you that you just shouldn't write. You should look into something more practical. But if you like writing, and you just need to find someone who will support you. Like, I am very lucky to have a family that supported me from the start, even when I was just like, even when I didn't think I could make any money off of it, I was just writing. And so you need to find that support group who will support you no matter what. It'll take time, but you'll get there.
Speaking of support group, I'm going to scroll back. Somebody asked, and I wish I could give the name, but oh, good. Okay, so Salman Mukhtar says, do you have a mentor?
I do not. When I wrote my first book and I finished it, that was like the time when I started reading everything that I could get my hands on. And before that, I wasn't really a fan of reading or writing. I was a blogger, and so I used to review books, and I finished writing that book, and I reached out to V. Schwab, who is like a killer bestseller right now. But at the time, I had just gotten an ARC of her first book, and so I reached out to her and we were talking, and I was like, I finished writing a book. Who do I have to pay to get it published? And so she was the first one to tell me, like, you don't need money to get your book published. You need to find an agent who loves your book. And that's when I realized that this is how publishing works. But other than that, I was mostly like doing everything on my own, researching as much as I could online. No mentors. Google is my mentor.
Ranjana's Reflections says, why did you choose to go via publisher and not self-publish your book? And how easier or not was it to find a publisher?
So I did self-publish a book, and it was a good experience because I had like full control over everything. But I realized that I don't mind giving up control just to get my work out to more people and to like have it like edited professionally by someone that I don't have to like hunt down myself and pay for. But I prefer traditionally published because one, I can get the book out to so many more people, and two, I can focus on writing and then building relationships with the publisher to get as much control as I can, rather than being at it all alone. But you might prefer the self-published route if you want full control over everything, like your cover art and where you're going to sell the book and how you're going to sell the book, all of that. And if you just want to get one book published, you might even want to just see it in your hand, then self-publishing might be the route for you. But finding a publisher isn't very hard if you have the right literary agent. I did build a platform on Twitter before I queried agents, and so when I used to tweet about my book, and then agents were like, when you're done, I want to see it. But that was with Behind the Flame. With my previous books, I had just been writing the story from start to finish. Like, you have to have a finished manuscript to query agents, polishing it to the best of my ability, and then hunting down the agents who I felt who would like my book. Like, they have to be looking for something that you're writing. Like, maybe you're writing science fiction. Some agents don't like science fiction. And so you just go on websites like agentquery.net, I think, Query Tracker, Manuscript Wishlist, and then you find agents who are looking for something that you're writing. And then you put together a query letter and then send it out to them. And once you sign with an agent, they're the ones who take your book out to publishers.
That's interesting. Thank you for talking through that process. I feel like if you haven't done it, it feels very mysterious. So that's interesting to hear. Speaking of publishing, Josh Kruger says, how did you learn that you were a New York Times bestselling author? And can you describe the moment for us?
Okay, so it starts with giving up control, right? So I was homeschooled from a younger age, from like 6th grade, and then I started my own business. So I didn't really have experience working with other people and giving up control. And so when I signed with Macmillan, I had to like listen to everyone else for everything. And so I worked on like sort of doing as much as I could, because when you're on the outside of publishing, it seems like the publisher does so much for the author, but in many cases, the author is the one pulling so many of the stops. And so I put so much work into promoting We Hunt the Flame. Like I ran a pre-order campaign for it. I designed tons of swag, and I spent a lot of money on it. And a lot of that money was actually the advance. So it's not like it was completely out of my pocket, because I had set some of that money to market the book. And so I was doing all of this work for it. And then before getting published, every Wednesday, my sisters and I would like get on Twitter to see who hit the New York Times bestselling list, because Wednesdays at 4 p.m. it gets announced on Twitter. And so that Wednesday after the book came out, it usually gets announced the week after. So it was like 8 days after my book came out, I was on Twitter waiting at 4 p.m. and it was like, so the time struck 4, and I was like, okay, it didn't work, it didn't hit the list. And I was like, if it doesn't, after all this work I've put in, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so then it was like 4:01, and then 4:02, and then at exactly 4:05, my editor texts me and she's like, it's number 5. So I was like, what's number 5? And then she calls me, and like my whole publishing team is on the other line, on the other end, and they're all screaming and crying. And that was like the first time I cried happy tears in my life, I think. It was just an amazing experience that I just keep thinking back to.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing. I think we're gonna have to add happy tears to your list, Mariah, with the never have I ever.
Never have I ever cried tears of joy.
Tears of joy, yeah.
You could have just said, never have I ever been on the New York Times best-selling list, and we could have all been like,
and Hafsah could have been.
Yeah. That would have been fun. We have about 6 minutes left, so, and I want to make sure to just wrap up at the end, but we've got maybe time for one more question. Oh, before I do that, when you said you were homeschooled, a lot of people in the chat went represent, or like fellow homeschooler or homeschoolers. So you've got some homeschool buddies. Okay, Whitney Clayton is asking you a question, which is, can you publish without a social media presence? It seems like you had a pretty big one, and that it was a big part of your
I did, but also the book that I wrote at 17, despite being my first book and being trash, did get like 2 agent requests. And so you don't need a social media presence to find agents or to get published. I mean, I had been blogging for a few years before it happened for me, but there are so many authors who just pop out of nowhere, and then they're like international hits. And so that has to do with the quality of their work. And like publishing push, marketing, all of that. So you don't need a social media presence. It can help in some ways, but you don't need one.
That's good to know. Fun fact, my Twitter account got hacked today by someone in New Jersey, and they posted an ad for Ray-Bans. But I have like 4 Twitter followers, so I was like, why would you hack me? Anyway, I just remembered that.
Is this you, Mariah, or somebody on chat?
No, this is me. This morning, my friend was like, why are you tweeting about Ray-Bans? And I was like, why would someone hack my like 5-person Twitter account? Anyway, the Russian bots or something after me. Okay,
I really thought it was, oh, sorry. I really thought it was going to be like an ad for We Hunt the Flame, and I was going to be like, topical. Wow.
No. Ray-Bans.
I think this is the beginning of a novel, though, Mariah. Hacking in, selling some Ray-Bans, and where do you go from there?
Yeah. Okay, last question, and I'm going to scroll up. I like to end on a nice note. So someone said, oh, Paige Porter says, what's your favorite thing about writing? And I'll ask you, but feel free also, other people who are following, you can drop in the chat, what's your favorite thing about writing? Or anyone, Grant, Sandra, China, what's your favorite thing?
Cool.
I think being done with writing, but also
you and Dorothy Parker.
Yeah, but also discovering things about my characters or the world, or just like having fun. And just being able to roam through the story wherever I want to go.
Anyone else?
Oh, I just put, yeah, writing deepens my life in just so many interesting, unexpected ways that sometimes I can't even put words to. I think every writer at some point does wonder, why am I doing this strange thing? You know, why am I sacrificing so many things in my life for it? And I think the answer is that it makes life richer. Yeah, it makes me pay attention to things I wouldn't ordinarily notice.
I guess for me, like anyone who's ever watched one of me or Sandra's virtual writings would say, I love killing my characters, which is true. But I think I love writing so much because it's really part of who I am. So yes, shovel of death. But also I think it's fun to kind of create worlds, and I like asking like what if questions, like what if the sun decided not to shine today, or you know, those cool kind of like creative questions, and I get to explore those things in my writing.
I think I love having an outlet for things I'm passionate about in life, and I feel like that's something that a lot of writers write, like or use in their writing. Like Kristen Kishore just released a book where the main character makes umbrellas, and I'm like, this is so passionate about umbrella making. You can really tell it's just something that she got really into one day, maybe like a wormhole. And so it's like small things like that, but also larger things like civil unrest and you know, obviously there's something big coming in the next couple of days, and there's a lot of complicated feelings around that I feel like I've been able to address, not fully, but at least start working my way through that nest of tangled emotions through the process of writing out my feelings and having characters do my dirty work of self-exploration instead.
Thank you all for sharing that. People are sharing some nice things in the chat as well, and I don't think we have time to go through them all, but the chat will be up, and this video, or this party has been recorded, so you can come back and party with us. Woohoo! And, as much as you want throughout November.
Mariah, can we hear yours?
Oh, so yeah. I thought I could slip by.
Yeah. It'll be like that party question. What's your novel about?
Oh, I don't know. I just would run away. I'd be like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, bye, and then come back. I think what you said, like it makes, and I never thought about it that way before, but it makes my whole life part of this like thoughtful, interesting art process. You know, like even the most boring things, like if I'm waiting in a doctor's office, I get to notice all the things that make it interesting or strange and think about it in a richer way, which is really cool. And I think becomes more and more a part of your life the longer you write, you know? So if the beginning of November is one thing, but if you keep writing throughout November or throughout your life, by the end of it, you really do kind of have a new way of looking at the world. And I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone who has come to this kickoff party. Thank you if you donated to our donation day weekend. Thank you for helping us reach our goal. If you haven't donated yet, you still can. You can check out the link below this video for all of the prizes that you could be entered to win. Plus, if you can see some goodies that you get just for donating. Also, you should go out and pre-order Hafsah's book, which is not out yet, right? You said it's coming out
January 19th.
January 19th, but I'm sure we could pre-order it.
Yes.
And
wherever books are sold.
Get the New York Times best-selling ball rolling again, which should be fun. Let me see if I have anything else to say. Oh, and right? First day of NaNoWriMo, make sure to update your word count. We're trying to reach 140 million words in one day all around the world. So you can check that out in the link below this video too. I don't like saying goodbye. I just want to keep going and writing like with everyone forever. But any final words, anybody? No?
Best of luck to everyone who's writing. Just try to get down as many words as you can and then think and worry about it later.
That's the best way to end with that. Just keep writing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Hafsah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, God.
Bye.